CIA tried to recruit Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's personal pilot, General Bitner Villegas, to divert Maduro's jet so the U.S. authorities could kidnap him. This is according to the Associated Press, by the way. U.S. Homeland Security agent Edwin Lopez, a retired Puerto Rican ex-Army Ranger, tried for 16 months to recruit Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's personal pilot. It fell apart when Villegas refused and reported loyalty to Maduro. Lopez, obsessed with the mission even after retirement, kept pressing Villegas through 2025, but the pilot publicly reaffirmed his allegiance on state TV. Alex Jones went out today and he was saying, well, President Maduro is lying about some CIA plot to do a coup attempt against President Maduro because Venezuela said they stopped a coup attempt, a CIA-backed coup attempt. And he said, this really lacks any evidence. They haven't given us any evidence. There's no evidence of this. He's laughing. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I feel like if the president of a country comes out and says that they stopped a coup attempt, they're probably going to tell us what it is. Maybe not in the exact moment that the story first breaks, but I feel like we're probably going to get that information later. Lo and behold, a few hours later, we do get the information. They did stop a coup attempt, and we have both Western and Venezuelan sources to confirm this. And it's a pretty incredible story. CIA tried to recruit Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's personal pilot, General Bitner Villegas, to divert Maduro's jet so the U.S. authorities could kidnap him. This is according to the Associated Press, by the way. This is not Venezuela news. The Associated Press investigation reveals that U.S. Homeland Security agent Edwin Lopez, a retired Puerto Rican ex-Army Ranger, tried for 16 months to recruit Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's personal pilot, General Bitner Villegas, to divert Maduro's jet so U.S. authorities could capture him. The covert plan was involving secret meetings, encrypted chats, and seized aircraft. It fell apart when Villegas refused and reported loyalty to Maduro. Lopez, obsessed with the mission even after retirement, kept pressing Villegas through 2025, but the pilot publicly reaffirmed his allegiance on state TV. Now that is pretty insane. Throughout the Biden administration, seemingly the Trump administration, you have this U.S. Homeland Security official that was trying to just arrest the president of a sovereign state. Just get him somewhere where we can arrest him. Divert his plane. That's incredible. They won't do it for Netanyahu, of course. But for Nicolas Maduro, they'll just arrest him. Simple. They don't need to win the elections in Venezuela. They don't have to prove to the people of Venezuela that they'd be better off if they had someone like Argentina's Javier Milei leading their country, because obviously no one's going to be inclined to believe that they're better off under Milei than Maduro. They don't have to try and prove that. They can just simply arrest Maduro. Incredible. So these are some photos that we have of the pilot. There's some more information here. In April of last year, Maduro's pilot, Bitner Villegas, was approached in the Dominican Republic by a U.S. federal agent. This is him sitting down and talking to the U.S. federal agent, allegedly. This U.S. federal agent gave the general an offer to divert Maduro's plane to a location where the U.S. could apprehend him. He would become rich and be a hero. Although Bitner did not confirm, he did give his contact information to the federal agent. They kept in touch for several months. In August of this year, after the reward for Maduro was increased, the agent asked Bitner again if he would do it. In the end, Bitner stood firm. He said he was not a traitor and blocked the agent. The next day, former official Marshal Bingslea shared a cropped photo of Bitner talking to the agent. It was right when Maduro's plane was taking off. 20 minutes later, the flight returned, likely so Bitner could be questioned. That's pretty incredible. This is the photo of him allegedly talking to the U.S. federal agent in the Dominican Republic. And the U.S. authorities, they just dropped this photo. They said, yeah, we've been talking to your boy, Maduro. Now, what they didn't include in that photo was the fact that he denied to participate in this little operation to arrest Maduro. That's pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. It's interesting that they allege that he was talking to them for several months. I'd be curious to know if that part is true or not. But as you know, Venezuela is very serious about this threat. I think with good reason. I do think the U.S. is going to do something. I don't think the U.S. is sending all these troops to Trinidad and Tobago, to Puerto Rico, all the, diverting USS aircraft carrier strike groups from the Mediterranean all the way down to Venezuela. I don't think that they're doing this all. It's a very expensive endeavor. I don't think they're doing this all just for shits and giggles. I think that they are actually going to do something. As we reported yesterday, Russia just sent a large military cargo jet, an Ilyushin 76, to Caracas, landed yesterday. We have the flight radar information and charts to show this to you. I showed it to you yesterday. Now, what's interesting about this is that plane, as I said, was used previously for transporting Russian mercenaries around Africa, in particular in the Sahel region. There's a lot of questions being asked as to whether or not that military cargo jet from Moscow was carrying military equipment, or was it carrying men, or both? Some people are asking whether or not those Russians, if they do exist on that plane, if they were there, if they're going to be manning air defense systems in Caracas. It's a good question. What's going on there? We don't know. I'm sure the U.S. is sweating about this. We also have further details. Putin ratified the 10-year strategic partnership with Venezuela. So we slightly addressed this yesterday, but now we have more information. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a federal law on October 27th ratifying a 10-year strategic partnership treaty with Venezuela, originally signed in May 2025, but they ratified it yesterday. Sometimes these strategic partnership deals, they take a very long time to ratify. Like the Iran strategic cooperation bill, that took like a year or something to ratify. So this is noteworthy. The agreement expands cooperation in energy, defense, trade, mining, transportation, security, science, technology, anti-terrorism, and sanctions-resistant finance, building on long-standing ties against Western sanctions and leveraging Venezuela's oil reserves with Russia's expertise. This development comes amid intensified U.S. sanctions and naval deployments near Venezuelan waters following Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration. Okay. Now, the Russians were asked about this today. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov was asked about, what's going on with that plane that just landed in Caracas? What's going on with that 10-year strategic partnership that you guys just steamrolled through and signed today, or signed yesterday, October 27th. This is what he had to say. And it's in Russian. He said, "We should not work to please anyone. This principle guided the unanimous ratification of the Russia-Venezuela Strategic Partnership Treaty. Friends in need must not be abandoned. Embodies its moral foundation, a principle made tangible by the sanctions-defying delivery of vital equipment to Caracas. This alliance models multipolar governance as the sustainable alternative to imperial dictates, defending sovereignty and development against a dying paradigm. As Western threats intensify, this demonstrated capability makes its strategic necessity undeniable." Okay? Now, I want to play one more clip for you because, yesterday we reacted to an interview with U.S. Senator Warhawk Lindsey Graham, who said that, the U.S. can go in and do whatever we want. It doesn't matter. If we want to go into Venezuela and topple the government, it doesn't matter. Because the U.S. has done this before. We did this in Grenada. We did this in Panama. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to play the full clip for you because some of the stuff I can't show you in this clip, but this will give you, the first few seconds will give you a good, example as to what, Lindsey Graham wants to do in Venezuela.
The goal was not to level the place, but to minimize damage to property, and most important of all, to minimize casualties, and that was accomplished.
My daughter did not belong to any group. She had nothing to do with Noriega. She was innocent. She had nothing to do with all of this, and they killed her.
In the months following the invasion, Panamanians were shocked to discover the existence of mass graves where hundreds, perhaps thousands of bodies were hastily dumped into pits and buried by U.S. troops.
Is that what we're about to see? Is that what we're about to see? Mass graves in Venezuela? Extended, protracted 40-year guerrilla war conflict? I don't want to see that. I think that's a stupid idea. I think we should just go to the Maduro government, like Trump did at the start of his administration. He sent Rick Grenell down there. Rick Grenell went, met with Maduro at the start of the administration, in effect, legitimizing the Maduro presidency. Maduro said, hey, whatever you guys want to do, we're here. If you want to do fair, open trade business, okay, let's do it. U.S. said, hey, Chevron wants to do some business. Can Chevron get some oil permits for your country? Maduro said, yes, of course. Come and drill for oil. Do what you want. And Chevron did that. And guess what? The world didn't end. The U.S. didn't collapse. Venezuela didn't collapse. Like, what is so bad about this? Can anyone explain it to me? What is so bad about this idea? Why are there all these idiots that are so consumed with toppling governments all across the world, especially in Latin America, if you're opposed to mass migration into the United States, which I am, by the way? Those who are not opposed to mass migration coming into the United States are the likes of the Koch brothers, BlackRock, the Democratic Party, the Republican elite, big business, Wall Street. They're fine with it because it makes for cheap labor in the United States. Okay. But average Americans are very opposed to this. 63% of Americans oppose intervention in Venezuela. That's before they understand how deadly it's going to be for the U.S., how costly it's going to be for the U.S. Maybe the peace president should focus on actually making peace with the countries that are at war and ensuring that stability prevails in the countries that are already stable. Let's not make new wars. Let's keep the peace.